Exactly 1 year ago, I had a stroke. So this is a little sum up of what things are like a year later. Now, when I first had my stroke, I did a ton of research because I knew nothing about strokes. Nobody in my family had had one. Nobody had warned me that it was a possibility. I'm considered very young to have a stroke, so it just wasn't on my radar at all. So here's the first thing. Google lies. I mean, if you didn't know that, you really should. But a lot of the research that I was doing was saying that, loads of people are fine like 3 to 6 months after a stroke. Yeah, no. Just no. I clung to that out of hope that that was going to be the case, that things would be back to normal within, a few short months. No, that's not what happened. Now, my stroke happened at the back of my head, so it was sort of around the back here, which is the part of the brain that controls your eyesight. And so when I first had my stroke, I lost about, almost 50% of my vision. I couldn't see anything from here on. So I wasn't able to drive for a few months because obviously I didn't have good enough peripheral vision. Now, about 4 months after my stroke, I was tested by the DVLA and approved for driving, which is fab. It means that I'm mobile, I'm independent, but my eyesight isn't back to normal. I have lost peripheral vision actually on both sides, so they do think that although most of the stroke affected the left hemisphere, I did actually have damage to both sides of my brain. So I've lost peripheral vision and I don't see around me as well as an average person should. And then there's the fatigue. Now, I was warned when I first saw an occupational therapist a few weeks after my stroke that stroke fatigue is like nothing else that you've ever experienced. And this is very true. I still suffer massively with fatigue. I went to the movies with my children yesterday and the day before because I had some free vouchers and I wanted to use them. We went to a film at the start of the day. That was it. That was me written off. That was my brain refusing to function after that, just because watching a movie and processing it actually takes a lot of brain power. And when my brain has used up all the power it's got for that day, that's it. It shuts down shop. And this is how things are for me these days, that I will have plans for things that I want to get done that day, which I try to base it on my new normal, but I can't help but go back to what I expected myself to be able to do. And I will work through it. And then just at some point, I'll hit a wall. My brain will just stop processing. It will stop functioning. I will just look at my computer and my brain will be like, I can see what I'm meant to be doing. I don't know how to actually make that happen. So I am a writer by trade, and I will just hit a point where I know that I have words, I know that words exist, but I have no idea how to put them together or put them on a page or process them. And yeah, I've plateaued. It's been like that for a while, and it's going to stay like that for quite a while to come. And there's a few things that I've noticed that people ask people who've had strokes or say to people who've had strokes that actually are perhaps not the most thoughtful thing that could be said, and maybe people ought to consider how else they could phrase things. So I get a lot, but you don't look like you've had a stroke. Well, yeah, that's because a stroke is brain damage. And last I checked, nobody was actually looking at other people's brains. It doesn't show. And whilst, depending on the type of stroke that you've had, it may well more visibly affect you. My stroke affected my eyesight. Nobody can see what it's like to look through my eyes. So of course I don't look like I've had a stroke, because my stroke wouldn't have affected how I look and how I appear. Another great one that I get is, oh, you had a mild stroke. Or even better, oh, you had a mini stroke. No, mini strokes are when you have the symptoms of a stroke, but they pass. They are gone within a few hours. Okay, we're a year on. Mine aren't gone. So there's nothing mini about it. Mini strokes, to be fair, are actually still very serious. They are a warning that a stroke is on its way if you don't make some big changes. So just be aware of that they're still not to be belittled or dismissed or written off as being no big deal, because they are. And yeah, mini strokes or mild strokes. Well, it's brain damage. Brain damage is brain damage. There's nothing mild about damaging your brain. And a year later, well, I've got permanent damage to my eyesight. My eyesight will never recover. It might get worse, but it certainly isn't going to get better. And I'm still struggling heavily with fatigue. I can't do the things I used to do. I can't enjoy long walks with my dog. Just can't do it. It's too much. I can't write thousands of words in a day. I can't just churn out a book, get it published all in a week. Can't do it. That's not mild. I'm not the same person that I was. That's not mild. So maybe if you're trying to be encouraging for someone, you're trying to support someone after a stroke, don't dismiss or diminish how they're feeling, because it affects everybody differently. But these effects are long lasting and they really do change your life. So maybe don't call that mild. I don't know, just a suggestion. There's a little thing that you might want to consider. Outside of that, life goes on. I mean, I do consider my stroke to have been a blessing. It's taught me a lot about myself, a lot about the people around me. It showed me just how much love and support I have around me, how much I've got to be grateful for, how amazing the people are in my life, how lucky I am to have every single one of them. But yeah, it's a year on. I thought I'd be back to normal. I'm not. Let's see how it goes this time next year.